Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back here with another video, and this is going to be another episode of collecting every LEGO Star Wars minifigure. If you're unfamiliar with the series, well, the title suggests pretty much exactly what it is. I'm trying to collect all the LEGO Star Wars minifigures. This does include the super rare expensive ones like the Cloud City Boba Fett and that Chrome Gold C-3PO. This does not include the one-off figures made of rare earth metals like the solid gold C-3PO or anything like that, however. As the title might suggest, this is going to be a huge minifig wall update, so you guys are going to want to stay through to the end. You're not going to want to miss the figures I show off in this video. To start things off, we have a couple of figures that really just came out. On the left, we have Hoth Rebel Trooper Dark Tan, aka Corey Zarin. She apparently has a name. She came out this year in a 2023 Star Wars Galaxy mission book. Nothing is unique on this minifigure. The face was included in, I want to say, at least the foosball table that LEGO released, and the torso and helmet and everything is just, you know, in multiple Hoth sets at this point. So not really too much to say about this figure other than that. I guess for some people, it'll be nice to add another Hoth Rebel Trooper to your collection. In general though, I am a pretty big fan of the modern design of the Hoth Rebel Troopers. I think that the Dark Tan looks really cool, and yeah, there's not really much I would change about this modern figure other than maybe some leg printing, I guess. The next figure we have is a Gaunt Droid. This came in a 2023 foil pack with C-3PO. This is, I guess, a newer design for Gaunt Droids. It seems we get new Gaunt Droids designs like every year at this point. This one isn't that bad. Like, it's definitely not my ideal Gaunt Droid design. I think ultimately we're gonna have to just get like a custom molded Gaunt Droid. I think that'd be ideal to really nail down the shape, just because the angles are so subtle on the Gaunt Droid. But this one is not bad. It's certainly not the worst Gaunt Droid. I think that still probably belongs to that one that came in the advent calendar that one year. As for a little build that you just threw into like a foil pack, I think that this is perfectly serviceable. Next up, we have a couple of builds that honestly can hardly be considered minifigures, but hey, Brinkley categorizes them as so they have to go on the minifig wall. But we got a couple of Dwarf Spider Droids. The one on the left is Dwarf Spider Droid, dark bluish gray dome, DBG cone 1x1, which is basically signifying the cannon right here on the front. This came in the 2013 Homing Spider Droid set, and the one on the right side is Dwarf Spider Droid, dark bluish gray dome, mini blaster says shooter, which signifies this like stud shooter cannon on the front. And this came in the 2016 Homing Spider Droid set. Not really too much to say about these, honestly. I think like overall, the design of these, you know, are pretty similar. I think there's probably a middle ground between both of these that looks ideal. Like, I like the antenna on top of this guy, but I think aesthetically, I definitely prefer the cone as opposed to the stud shooter. I don't hate the stud shooter. I think, like, from a playability standpoint, like, yes, I get why they'd want that to be there, so I'm not gonna necessarily complain about it, but the ideal Dwarf Spider Droid for me would probably be a combination of these two. Moving towards the more expensive figures, we have female Padawan. Some of you who have watched the series might be familiar with this figure because it has appeared before, but this is a new variation. This is female Padawan with small eyes. So I'm not going to give you the entire spiel on this thing, but long story short, LEGO released a 2013 Toy Fair Holocron set, and it came with a female Padawan, i.e. this girl right here. She basically uses Leia's face, Episode 2, Anakin's torso, and then a generic leg and hairpiece. During that period, there were two variations of the Leia headpiece that had small eyes and large eyes, so they both showed up in the set, I guess. So that means that I had to collect both of them, so now we finally have the second one. I will say that technically this is supposed to be a super expensive figure, like a $200 figure. However, I cut a few corners. I'm not going to get too much into it. If you want to learn about the differences between the head pieces, i.e. the cheap one that I have here versus the super expensive one with a different like stud on the top of it, I'm going to link the video that kind of goes over that. But I will say that, you know, this is technically not the exact figure that's super expensive, but for all intents and purposes, you can't tell the difference. So I'm cool with it. But really not too much to say about this figure. It looks fine. Like it's just kind of a random mishmash of existing pieces. But, you know, I guess if you really wanted to like throw this in a mock or something, you'd probably get a more updated, childish looking face, and boom, you got yourself a female Padawan. And now for the final two figures in the video. These are the heavy hitters. These are the expensive ones. And I'm honestly thrilled to finally have them in my possession. To start things off, boom, we have a smooth-haired Leia figure. This figure you should all be familiar with, but if you're not, basically in the late 2000s, Leia was included in an X-Wing set as well as a Rebel blockade runner, and there was a production defect that resulted in the ridges not being molded into her hairpiece, hence smooth hair Leia. So we ended up having some of those sets with the normal hairpiece with the ridges in it, and then some of them with this more rare variant of having a smooth hairpiece. Kind of a funny and weird story. You don't really see things happening like that with Lego on such a large scale, but it has since resulted in some pretty expensive minifigures on the Lego Star Wars aftermarket. Before I give my thoughts on the figure, I do have to give a very special thanks to my guy, Brick Freak. He is the one who supplied me with this figure as well as the next figure, and I just have to say, man, I am so appreciative. This minifig wall is super stressful, especially at this point when so many of the figures I have left are just so expensive. So the fact that you were so kind to contribute this means the world to me, and you have saved me a lot of stress and time and money in trying to hunt down these two figures. So I am super appreciative for what you've done. In regards to this actual figure, other than the fact that it has smooth hair, and even with the fact that it has smooth hair, like from a glance, like this figure is really nothing special. You know, it's the same Leia torso that they had been using since the 04 Millennium Falcon, that same face print as well. The smooth hair, I honestly in person is very weird to look at. Like, it honestly looks like the video game Leia, insofar as, you know, there's just like a lower polygon count, so it just looks, I don't know, less high definition, so to speak, but, you know, not really too much to say about this figure in terms of detail, other than that she has a super rare and expensive hairpiece. And now for the final minifigure of the video. This is definitely the one that I was most excited for, but here we finally have a chrome black Darth Vader. This one is so weird to look at. I've definitely seen this figure in person at one point, but I don't know, I think just like having it in my possession and knowing that it is my figure just made me kind of look at it a little bit differently. It's such a unique concept for a Star Wars figure, you know, taking Darth Vader and making him chrome black instead of black. I don't know, really cool thing that Lego did. The way we got this figure was for the 10th anniversary of Lego Star Wars. It was a poly bag that was randomly included in a bunch of sets from that year, which could have ranged from like a battle pack to like the bigger sets of the year, which is crazy to think about, especially when you look at how much this figure costs nowadays. Like, there were people finding this thing in like $10 sets back in the day. So shout out to them. If you found this figure in a battle pack, you are a very lucky person. Of all the specialty niche figures they do like this, I gotta say this one might be the one that I think looks the coolest. Like, Vader is super shiny and reflective in the films, so having a Lego version of it that kind of reflects that, no pun intended, is actually pretty interesting. You raise up his cape, you'll see that he does not have any back printing, but you know, he is fully shiny all the way around, and it's just a cool figure to have in my possession. Go ahead and remove the helmet, pretty standard head under there. Really the exclusive parts of this figure are just the chromed out helmet, legs, and torso. From what I've gathered online, this is one of those figures that have a pretty wide range when it comes to quality. Like, I'd say mine isn't like the best condition one, or at least I thought so when I first got it, but looking at even some that are like freshly open, Lego wasn't super consistent when applying like the spray to get like that chrome black like layered on top of the pieces. So in some areas, you know, you might be inclined to think like, oh, the figure's kind of faded, but I think it's actually just the case that in some areas Lego didn't, you know, apply the spray consistently. And I've confirmed this by looking at videos of people who have like opened up brand new poly bags of these, and like, yeah, the spray is super inconsistent. So that kind of maybe eases me a little bit about the quality of this one. And Honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. I have no complaints, especially a figure that I got for free. Like, I'm not gonna complain about that. As for my final verdict, I gotta say, like, I like this figure a lot more in person than I thought I did. I think initially I just kind of looked at it as kind of like a specialty, you know, weird figure that might be kind of neat, but I'd never actually use it. But I think, like, if Lego didn't have the updated Vader helmet, like, if we were, you know, back in the day, I would totally consider using this guy in a mock. I think having a super shiny reflective Vader would actually be kind of cool. So shout out to Lego for making, you know, a really cool figure with some staying power 15 years ago. So now that we've checked out all the minifigures, let's go ahead and get them put on the minifig wall. And there we go, the minifigures have been added to the wall. Normally I would do like a time lapse showing me adding the figs to the wall, but this week I really only had 3 figures that were eligible to be added to the wall as it is currently configured, as the Hoth Rebel Trooper as well as the Gaunt Droid were just too new, and the Dwarf Spider Droids are just too big. So gonna have to find extra space for those, and then I'm just gonna add the rest whenever I expand the wall up as well as down. But we did get the 3 big heavy hitters added to the wall. So we started off with that Leia minifigure. You can see that she is hanging out next to her ridged hair counterpart. So there's the normal hair variant, and there is the smooth hair variant. Chrome Vader is chilling all the way over here next to Clone Wars Yoda of all people, but looks pretty cool there. It looks nice and shiny and reflective, and man, super happy to have that figure. Down here, we added the Padawan Jedi to the wall, and I realized I made a mistake. I actually purchased another of the like big-eyed versions as opposed to the small-eyed versions. So that's on me, but it's not a super expensive piece to get. In fact, I probably have another small-eyed headpiece, kind of like this one, sitting around somewhere in this room. So I might just swap those out easily. No big deal. Really the most expensive part of that figure to get was the torso. Everything else is pretty simple. But yeah, minifig wall is looking awesome so far. And for those of you who are curious, like, you say you have 8 figures left, but there's a lot more than 8 gaps left. Some of the minifigures on this wall are either in mocks or still in boxes that I have not opened yet, or just kind of elsewhere being displayed in my collection. But it is fully my intent by the end of this series to have everything on the wall here. When I show it off, it's like, you know, the big, oh, I collected every Lego Star Wars minifigure. So definitely want to stay tuned for that. But as my closing remarks, I am so happy to have finally added these figs to the wall, and I, you know, would love to say that there's going to be another episode sometime soon, but kind of like I mentioned earlier, these figures that I have left are super expensive, so it's not going to be the case that you get, you know, big multi-figure episodes moving forward. It's probably going to be 1, if I'm lucky, maybe 2, unless someone out there is also just super generous and wants to send me some figures. So I'm still going to make this a priority for sure, but it is definitely, it's not getting any easier, if I might say so. But that's really all I got for you guys this week. If you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.